Welcome back to Central Valley Talk. This show is the real estate and home improvement show. All week long, we've been having guests talking about how we can improve our homes, what we should do if we want to sell our home, how to get it ready, things like that. And of course, every day we have realtors on our show showing off properties they have for sale. But it all starts, all real estate starts and ends in one place, and that is with, unless you have a pile of cash at home, it starts and ends with the lender. And our guest today is our old friend Elijah Orozco, calling in. And I know Elijah lives up the street from me, right there in Big Garden area. Welcome, Elijah.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now I say it all starts and ends with the lender. Is that right?
You're absolutely right. It definitely starts with us.
If I had a pile of cash, like a $500,000, I
Then you're
don't.
a lucky guy.
Well, I don't think I'd buy a house with it. I think I'd still get a loan because interest rates are lower than the cost of living. It wouldn't make sense to pay cash.
Absolutely. I mean, might as well leverage other people's money. That's how 88% of all self-made millionaires did it in this country.
That's right. Leverage, leverage, leverage. Now, I love to have you as a guest because you're an expert on this stuff. You're not out just to sign people up and get their money. You know what's going on out there. Can we talk about these slides that you sent in?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have found that these are three of the most asked about topics where interest rates are going, where the market's going, and then different programs. So we are going into a recession, or if we're not already in one, there's a lot of talks about that. That's a whole different conversation. So I wanted to just share if we do go in a recession, then what does that mean for interest rates? And that's on my very first slide.
Yeah, it shows them going down.
Yeah, so when you look at the last 10 out of the last 10 recessions, every single recession, interest rates have dropped every single time. And it really makes sense because monetary policy is going to create deflation, which makes interest rates drop. So if we're going into a recession, then we can expect interest rates to drop. Now, it's interesting because just this morning on my next slide, Janet Yellen spoke in the Federal Reserve meeting, and she said that because unemployment is so low, then we cannot go into a recession, which is really interesting because actually when you look at historically, right before every single recession, 100% of the time, the unemployment always drops to the lowest peak from the previous valley. So being that we are at the lowest unemployment rate, we can expect a recession to follow very soon. And what's interesting about that is the opposite happens once we reach a peak of unemployment. Well, then usually things start to improve. And it makes sense when you think about it, right, Mike?
Yeah, well, people always say history. Why do you need to study history? Well, Elijah studies history, and he says this happens in the recession when the unemployment goes low. You see a recession coming soon after.
Yeah, and it really is simple numbers. I mean, one thing I like about my industry is that it's all numbers, and
Yeah,
people can lie all day long, but numbers don't. And so the numbers are there, and if you have 100% historicity behind it, well, then you know that what's going to happen next.
yeah.
And it's great news because for those of us who own our homes, we can lower our rates coming down the road.
Oh, I see. So
And
coming up
it,
here, if you're going to want to think about maybe refinancing to get your rates lower.
Yeah, absolutely. The not so great news is that the lower interest rates is just going to bring a ton of buyers out of the woodworks.
Oh boy.
So we can expect home prices to go up pretty dramatically. And that's not going to be the not so great news if you're trying to wait. For those trying to time the bottom of the market, this is it.
This is it.
On my
Yeah.
next slide, I don't remember what's on there, so let's take a look.
Are we having a housing bubble, or are we?
Yeah, so actually, that's a really common question. A lot of people want to know, are we in a housing bubble? I mean, there's this really famous news anchor that's been saying for every single month for the eighth year now that the market's going to pop. And here we are in 2023. We have seen a decline in prices, but we haven't had that housing bubble just yet. So I think, Mike, if you agree, an important question is, what is a housing bubble? I mean, to be able to truly say if we're in a housing bubble or not, you got to be able to identify what is a housing bubble.
Yeah.
So when you look at the next slide, It goes into the last two housing bubbles we had,
Mm.
1985 and 2007.
Oh, yeah.
2007 was just so famous. I mean, a lot of people unfortunately had a very difficult time, lost their homes. It was a really awful time. It was called the Great Recession. It was actually a depression because every market crashed at that time. Now, one thing that's interesting about that slide from 2007 is when you look at the number of homes that were for sale. At that time, there was nearly 4 million homes for sale in this country,
Oh, my
but
gosh.
there was only a million buyers. So it's simple supply and demand, a million buyers, 4 million homes. Well, the market popped, and that's how a housing bubble looks like. Fast forward to 2023, we don't have 2023 numbers yet, but you can look at how 2022 closed out. Looking at the inventory for December as a nation, we had 1 million homes for sale. And we actually had 5 million buyers,
Mm.
which was,
Kind of backed
a
off.
decline, exactly the exact opposite.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about that, Mike, is this inventory is similar to 1951,
Mm.
but how much bigger is our population now? When the year started, we actually had 7 million buyers,
Mm.
but because interest rates drive markets, when rates went up in September, it just a lot of buyers got spooked. They left the market, and they're going to be coming back in droves this year. So right now is a really small window of opportunity. In fact, in some of our hot neighborhoods in the Central Valley, we're already seeing competitive offers again. So we know the writing's on the wall. We
Yeah.
see what's coming.
So I say Elijah Orozco predicts the future. You're not really predicting the future. You're just looking at what happened in the past and you're saying this just happens every few years and you got to be ready for it. And I'm glad you're here telling our viewers about it so they can be ready now. They can get through this in a good way if they plan for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it is difficult because California is such a beautiful state. And just unfortunately, it is so expensive already to live here. And it can be
Yeah.
discouraging knowing that home prices come up. So there was a Senate bill that was passed last year by the California legislature, Senate Bill 197. And in that bill, $350 million were appropriated for first-time home buyers. We've never had so much money available for
Wow.
first-time home buyers, and that program is going to be rolling out next month. And we're already accepting applications for it now. It's insanely aggressive, Mike. You have a 20% down payment assistance program available now for first-time home buyers in the state
Wow.
of California. So, I mean, if you look at I saw a couple listings down the street, $500,000,
Yeah.
that would be $100,000 in assistance. And I mean, my mom raised me that if it's free, it's for me. So for those that can take advantage, they really should because money in that size doesn't come around very often.
I just put that slide up, ready to buy your first home.
Yeah, so I think that's what's gonna get the most amount of people. 350 million, it sounds like a lot, but we're also a really big state.
Yeah.
So honestly, it's probably just a 3 month supply of
Oh,
funds,
okay.
first come, first serve. So jump in line now. We are getting people in line for those funds. And once it's gone, it is gone
It's gone.
forever.
Yep. It's a one-time
The
thing.
Probably
Well,
my second most popular program is our Hometown Heroes. It's actually a grant. Grant is free money, down payment assistance. You have to pay it back. With a grant, you don't. And so for anyone that is in the firefighter field, the police department, a school district, whether it's private or public, even if you drive the bus or you're a janitor, you're a
wow.
secretary, as long as you work for that entity, you work for a hospital, a convalescent home, there is free money from a nonprofit agency right now to help you get into a home as well.
Well, I always thought
So,
that
I
was
mean,
just police and firefighters, but you're saying school teachers, school employees, convalescent home, hospital employees.
absolutely. So a lot of these people, they are heroes. They sacrifice so
Yeah.
much time. They typically are underpaid for the amount of work and energy that they put into their work, and they are public servants. So it's a really great way to reward them. They typically are an underserved market, so it's a great way to help them achieve home ownership.
Yeah. Well, to find out about this, you guys got to call Elijah Roscoe. Um, 559-314-2444. Now, I have this one more interesting slide up here. Oh, how to reach Elijah. There you go. That's one of those QR code things on there. Just hold your phone
Yeah.
up to our screen right now.
And you can download my contact information there. And I just like to reiterate, I mean, I do work with a ton of clients, but I will always be the face of your loan application. I'm not going to pass you on to someone else. I do have a large staff to help me in putting files together, but I will be your main loan officer. And just because it is going to be not just a tough year, it's going to be a tough next 5 years.
Yeah.
So we are open 364 days out of the year. We're closed for Christmas from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., 7 days a week. We're doing same day approvals. And
Wow.
if you need to get into a home, we can get you the keys to your house in as quick as 10 days. That's
Wow.
important because when you're competing with a lot of buyers, it creates a frenzy. So what we can do on the finance side to help you to stand out, you're pretty much as good as a cash offer at that point.
Yeah. Oh, if you got everything all lined up and approved, so good, good. Now, call Elijah, even if you're thinking about it. Now, by the way, it's not just people buying homes, but people who own homes need to get a hold of you because it may be time to refinance. Also, that's what you're saying.
Yeah, definitely refinances are coming down the road, maybe a HELOC. But if you're not in your dream home, we did a survey and 78% of homeowners are not in their dream home. We can get you there. I mean, yes, rates are high. Yes, home prices are high. But very often we find that more than half of the time we're able to get you into the house that you absolutely love and
Yeah.
deserve without much difference in your monthly payment. So
Yeah.
it's all about strategy, using the different resources available so that you can have a home that you love and are comfortable with.
Very good. Now, we know Elijah from Fresno. Like I said, he lives right here in Big Garden. I shouldn't tell people where you live, but you do the whole state. I know my family down in sunny San Diego. You do that area. People are watching us all over the state, so it's the same for anyone, right? Anybody in the state can call you.
Yeah, absolutely. So these programs are California programs. I am licensed actually in all 50 states of America. So no matter where you buy, I'm available and I'm eager to help you get into whatever home, whatever city, state, county there is.
Very good. We're out of time, Elijah. Orozco, loan officer, 559-314-2444. Anything else you want our viewers to know?
I'm a big proponent in education.
Yeah.
So, any calls that you have with me, there never is a cost, but you definitely want to take advantage of the knowledge and the education that you can get at no cost.
Yeah.
I'm a huge proponent in knowledge is power, but true power comes from taking action. So don't just listen, pick up the phone, scan my QR code, give me a ring, and let's see what we can do to put you in a better place.
Very good. Elijah Orozco. Thank you, Elijah. You did educate us today. There's things that I didn't know, and we learned them today. We'll be
Thank you so
back
much for
with
having
more
me.
Central Valley Real Estate and Home Improvement Show right after this.